Who are you and what do you do?
My name is Sally Stone. I'm the Director of the College of Continuity in Architecture at the Manchester School of Architecture.
You're involved in the Save Preston bus station campaign. Could you summarise why it's so important that that building's rescued?
Well, Preston bus station is situated in Preston, of course, and Preston is a small provincial city somewhere in the northwest of England. And as such, it has a very particular character. The city has a very particular character, which has evolved over thousands and thousands of years, and by virtue of its position in Lancashire and the Industrial Revolution, its position as a trading port. It was once the second largest port in the country. By virtue of its position in the country and the routes north and south, and its relationship with the sea. It's on an estuary. So it has a very particular and individual character, and this character is built on its situation. And all cities have characters, all cities and every place is different, and Preston is exactly the same as that. It's very, very individual. And it is the monuments within a city that give the cultural legacy of a place. And the bus station, which was constructed in 1969, the same year as the first man landed on the moon, and it is imbued with that same sense of ambition and hope. It is the biggest bus station in the Northern Hemisphere, probably in the world, and for a small provincial city to construct something like that exhibits the same ambition, the same hope that put a man on the moon. And that was very much part of the 1960s, that sense of hope that existed within the world. It was constructed by Building Design Partnership, BDP, which started in Preston and is now an international practice, one of the largest in the world. And although they moved out of Preston some years ago, their legacy is very much part of Preston as well. So if we don't preserve these buildings, if we don't preserve these monuments, we lose the character of Preston.
Do you think that the threat to the bus station is typical of the attitude of local authorities?
That's a good question. I don't think it's all local authorities have that threat. Preston Council itself, they do have a lot of problems, and I do have sympathy for them because they have to weigh up how they can, the money that they have to spend on services or to work on, to use on this particular building, and they haven't got enough money. But equally, they haven't, in my opinion, there are a lot of avenues that they could have pursued to preserve it in some way.
Why do you think public opinion has been so strong about this building?
Because it's part of Preston. There's a local opinion, say it's part of Preston, and they very much want to claim it as their own, because I think a lot of people do appreciate the fact that it makes the place individual, it makes the place special. But also, I think more national opinion is that we are losing a lot of 20th century buildings.
How important do you think building reuse is then to urban regeneration?
Building reuse. The existing buildings are key elements within the memory of an area. They're the monuments to a previous society. They show the evolution of the culture that we live in and our own society. So it's very interesting that, for instance, big companies like Google, for instance, who are populated by creative people, they don't want to live, most of those people do not want to live in new towns. They do not want to live in cities or places that have been specifically constructed for them. They want to live in an environment that's evolved over hundreds or a few hundred years, because they want to be part of that cultural heritage. They want to invest in the legacy and be part of that legacy and understand how somewhere has evolved, because these areas have considerably more character. They're more interesting.
Where do you think the line is between architecture and art, or are they totally interdependent?
It's a very interesting question, that. And when Marcel Duchamp was asked what was the difference between architecture and art, he replied, drains. And I thought it was a very acute answer. Is there a difference between architecture and art? Can a sculpture or a building, can they provide the viewer with the same uplifting experience? Can they ask the same questions? Can they be a testament to the society that constructed them? So it's questionable whether it is little more than the drains that make the difference between architecture and art.
How important do you think urban interventions are in public space as pieces of art, perhaps?
Public art is actually incredibly important. It opens people's eyes to possibilities. People can be very comfortable in their own worlds, and they don't venture beyond that. But societies evolve not just through science, but through combinations of science and art, and this is the basis of all culture. So the more we can embrace art, the more we can embrace culture, the further our society will progress. And I think it's incredibly important because of that.
Thank you very much.